Nicole.
Hello.
How are you?
I am doing good.
Good. Okay.
Okay.
And then we do have 26 RSVPs for this, so it's almost as many as we had as the first time.
Great.
So I think we'll just give people a few minutes to go ahead and pop on.
That'll work, and we'll just kind of do it the same way we did the last one.
And then I think I can do this, but I want to see when I'm doing my screen share. Okay, so my screen share, and then if I'm toggling my window, can you still see the screen share or no?
Yeah, their screen share stays up for us.
It does. Okay, so you can still see that PowerPoint and you don't see anything else.
Correct.
Perfect. Okay. So, hi everyone. I know it's right on 1 o'clock. We are going to leave just another moment or two for other participants to join, but thanks so much for joining us. We will be talking about the Pflugerville Cares Small Business Grant. And with this being a webinar style meeting, That means that we will be presenting the information, and then we can have a time to take questions at the end. But we also have this Q&A box. And so if you have any immediate questions that you know that you already have about the program, feel free to go ahead and type them in the Q&A box. And if there's any quick questions we can answer before we start, we'll go ahead and do that. Or if questions come up as we're going through the information, feel free to use the Q&A box at that time as well. And then, like I said, we'll go through everything. And then at the very end, we will answer the Q&As that are in the Q&A box. And then we'll also give time if you want to verbally come on and ask your question. Okay, so I think we can go ahead and get started. Again, thanks everyone so much for joining us today. My name is Lindsay Ignatowski. I'm our communications director here at BCL of Texas. And so we are the nonprofit organization working with Pflugerville to administer this program. We're going to be doing a webinar style presentation where we'll walk you through the program, the requirements, the eligibility, how to get started and apply. And then at the end, we'll be taking questions. But if you do have questions that pop up during the webinar, feel free to go ahead and type those in the Q&A box, and then we'll get to everything at the end. But other than that, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Raquel Valdez Sanchez. She is our COO with BCL, and she can tell you a little bit more about us as well as about this program.
Thank you, Lindsay. I'm excited to be able to present on the Pflugerville Cares program, which is a small business grant program that the city of Pflugerville has dedicated money towards. They've dedicated a fund right now of $920,000 to be utilized for small business grants for a number of businesses in the community. I also want to spend a moment to just recognize one of the individuals from the city of Pflugerville on the presentation today, Nicole Little. Nicole, if you don't mind sharing a little bit about your participation in the program. You're on mute, Nicole.
Always happens. My name is Nicole Little. I'm the business process analyst for the city of Pflugerville. And I've been with the city for a little over a year. And one of the first major things that they've tasked me with is helping the city navigate spending the funds we received from the American Rescue Plan Act. And one of those things that really stuck out that council wanted to do is to find a way to help more small businesses in our community, and more specifically, those sole proprietors that were not eligible for funds through the CARES Act interlocal agreement we had in the past. And so I'm kind of just here to help navigate things, and I'm working with BCL. They're handling the administrative things. And if you have questions regarding how the city came to these decisions or kind of what was our thought process going into it, you're more than welcome to ask me those questions and I can get answers for you.
Sounds good. Thank you, Nicole. So I'm going to go ahead and ask Lindsay to go to the next slide. So just a little bit about BCL of Texas. It's where we're a nonprofit organization here out of the Austin community area that's statewide, where we administer small business programs, lending programs, grant programs, and we work with a number of small businesses throughout the state of Texas. What we're dedicated to is building strong communities and working with our municipalities and government to be able to do that. believe that our clients should be able to have access to resources regardless of their income or their status in terms of size. And we want to be able to be committed to what we do, which is closing the wealth divide and helping businesses, specifically ones that have been historically underserved, be able to have access. Next slide, please. So we've been excited to be part of the Pflugerville Cares program. Previously, we worked with them in 2020, where we were engaged in administering the first round of the Pflugerville Cares program that was utilized through CARES Act funding. It's where the city of Pflugerville dedicated funds. And what they did is they've said, we want to do another iteration of this program. We want to be able to start it over again, but we want to be able to provide access like Nicole talked about, providing access to small businesses that had been overlooked from the first round that did have no employees. And so in response, it's where we're excited to be able to have a program where we have 3 different tiers of access to loans, to grants. One of them is for businesses that are sole proprietors with no employees up to 14 employees, where they're able to access $25,000 in grants. The other tier is for our mid-sized businesses that have 15 to 40 full-time equivalent employees that can access up to $50,000 in grants. And then for our larger businesses within the city of Pflugerville, we have $75,000 available for businesses that have 41 full-time employees or more. It's where right now the application is open. We opened up the application for this grant program on May 15th, and it will be closing on June 30th. And with this, some of the main eligibility requirements is that the business must be located in the city limits of Pflugerville, have been operating since March 1 of 2019, and be a for-profit business. What we'll be looking at is we'll also be asking you to submit financial information, tax returns, bank statements, documentation proving that you've been in operation and that you've also had and served a loss of 25% or more of gross income due to the COVID pandemic. We'll be looking at the financial period of March 3rd of 2021 through December 31st of 2024. And we'll be looking at this large period of time because we know that with this program, while our application period will close, there may be opportunities for additional funding to come into place. And so we want to be able to make sure that we can be able to continue this program if necessary for the needs of the community. One of the biggest things that Nicole mentioned was that sole proprietors are now eligible, which means that the business doesn't have to have employees. They can be a sole proprietor operating as a single owner. And ultimately, too, they don't have to have a storefront. They can be home-based businesses as well, as long as they are located within the city of Pflugerville. Additional pieces about eligibility is that they must be open, and ideally, we want them to be able to remain open. So we will be doing some continuity reviews and planning to be able to determine that they'll be able to stay open 12 months after they receive any kind of grant opportunity from the city of Pflugerville's Peak Cares program. They must also have identification such as a social security number, EIN for the business, or individual taxpayer identification number, which is an ITIN. We'll be asking, like I mentioned before, tax returns. And because the business must have been in operation since 2019 of March, they'll be then presenting us with 2019 tax returns, 2020 tax returns, and then 2021. And we acknowledge businesses may have asked for an extension and are not going to be filing taxes until later in the year. So we will require that they turn in a proof of extension and then interim financials, such as a profit and loss and balance sheet. When we're looking at the businesses, other eligibility is that they cannot be past due on any taxes and fees specifically to the city. And so if there is information associated with property taxes or city fees where you're on a payment plan, we ask that you present that as part of your application, but you cannot be past due as of March 3rd, 2021. On our website, we have a full list of eligibility requirements specific to the program. And within the application, you will be completing a disclosure, which outlines all of the guidelines associated with the program, eligibility, and it's where you will have to sign off and submit that as acknowledgement that you understand the guidelines. So we do have a list of ineligible businesses. When it comes to businesses, it's where we won't be able to provide the program to businesses that are located outside of the city of Pflugerville's incorporated city limits. Nonprofits will not be eligible. Businesses that have an active bankruptcy or have not been discharged from the bankruptcy rulings. Businesses that are engaged in pyramid, gambling, pawn shops, real estate developers as well. And then real estate businesses related to single family developers, multifamily, commercial property, and then short-term rentals. Investors, government agencies, hobby businesses that are unable to prove that they've been in operation consistently since 2019. Sexually oriented businesses, businesses that started after March 1 of 2019, businesses that are engaged in illegal activities, political and lobbying, religious organizations, businesses that have been suspended or debarred from doing work with the federal government, predatory lending businesses, and then businesses that are unable to show proof of consistent operations via their tax returns and financial documentation. And when you receive the grant is going to be done as a reimbursement. You won't receive all of the funds directly up front. What you'll be doing is turning in documentation to show that you have eligible expenses, such as equipment and machinery, payroll, vendors and supplier payments, rent, leases, or any kind of mortgage payment specifically for the property used for the business purposes only. Utilities, such as gas and electricity, specifically for the business property. And then also any kind of PPP protection, so personal protection or sanitary equipment necessary for your business to operate. And then business improvements to the location, such as, modifications for COVID, as well as ways that you've created social distancing and other kind of materials and testing materials for your staff. Also business improvements, leasehold improvements, property improvements, new equipment or technology to be able to modify and expand and scale your business, marketing and advertising due to COVID, and then the reestablishment of a brick and mortar's presence. We know a number of businesses may have had to close their doors due to COVID-19 and are looking to reopen. And so this grant has eligible expenses to be able to reimburse for those costs. Ineligible uses are for lobbying, repayment of loans or any debt, payment of mortgage, which is personal or personal utility costs based on IRS rules for home-based businesses. Certain taxes and fees such as property taxes, payroll taxes, and licensing are ineligible costs. And then any other costs that are determined ineligible through the continual federal guidance. Because the funding that is used for this program is used Treasury federal funds, we want to be very careful to make sure that we meet all of the federal guidelines associated with administration of this program. And if you can go back one more. I think there was another one after this one. How to apply, yes. So the main thing to do is be able to go to our website so that you can be able to start gathering information. On our website, we have a full list of frequently asked questions that we've received from applicants. And it's where we also have a master checklist and then access to the direct grant application link. One of the other things that we've done, and we did this for the previous year, and we did this for this program, is we have dedicated team members. They've been doing door-to-door engagement and going out in the city of Pflugerville to engage with small business owners and educating them about the program. And then they're also available by phone and by email to be able to provide what we call technical assistance, specific assistance on helping you navigate the application system, understanding of what documents are needing to be submitted, and they'll be contacting you if you have missing documentation so you can meet the deadline. It's where ultimately, when it comes to the work that we do, we offer it in English and Spanish with our staff who are fluent, but we also are able to provide it in other languages. We have a limited language proficiency plan where we're able to engage translators to be able to support businesses who need additional language translation. And so our main thing today was being able to be here, be available, share information about the program, answer any questions you might have, and then specifically make sure that you have access to the information and ways to contact us through our website, bcloftexas.org/pcares, our email, pcares@bcloftexas.org, and our phone number, 737-241-2230, which is a dedicated line specifically for this program, where our staff are able to answer it during working business hours and be able to respond to any voicemails that are left.
Okay, great. So we will go ahead and open up the Q&A. I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen. So we do have an answer from or a question from the Q&A. It says, if the loan was used to cover eligible expenses, can the grant funds be used to repay said loans? It appeared that was a qualifying statement related to loan payment. If so, what additional documentation it would be required?
So it's where one of the things that we want to make sure we're doing is we're not duplicating efforts. So what we've seen is that the federal government has come out with additional programming through EIDL and PPP. And so it's where if you used PPP loans or EIDL loans or any kind of other federal funded assistance programs, it's where we would have to make sure that none of the expenses that you paid for with those funds are going to be asked for reimbursement, because that would be a duplication of efforts, and that's not allowed by the federal guidelines.
And then another question we had was, does BCL of Texas offer technical assistance to support completion of the grant application?
We do. So what we'll do is we'll schedule one-on-one technical assistance appointment so you can be able to work with our staff members to be able to work through the application. What we will not do is we will not answer questions. We will not guide you through answering questions. We will help you in terms of uploading information to the document section where you need to upload documentation, give you information and instructions on how to be able to fill out one of the fillable forms, which is associated with IRS, which is a W-9. We have another fillable form, which is associated with your financial information that you would pull directly from your personal profit and loss information and tax returns. It's where we would navigate you through the Zoom grant system to be able to help you learn how to be able to go through the answering question in terms of the sections to go through. But we will not be answering questions specifically to the application or guiding you and steering you on how to respond.
Thank you. Okay, and then I just wanted to give an invitation for anyone else that has a question. You're welcome to type it in the Q&A box, which basically just works like a chat box. And you can also raise your hand and I can unmute you. So I think right now folks are muted, but yeah, if anyone wants to ask a question, you can do the chat box, or you can just go ahead and get on unmute, and you feel free to answer or ask any more questions. Okay, so I don't see any more questions coming through. So again, I just really wanted to thank y'all for being on this webinar with us today, and just reiterate that the grant applications are due, they would close on June 30th, but this is on a first come, first serve basis as far as the funding. So you're welcome to submit your application earlier. And then if you do have questions, again, we've got that contact info. It's bcloftexas.org/pcares. And you can call us or email us from there. The info is on the website. And Nicole or Raquel, is there anything else you would like to add about this program before we wrap up today?
Going back to the deadline, it's where the program does close June 30th at 8 p.m. It's where our staff will be available through 5 o'clock that same day to be able to provide any last minute support in terms of technical assistance or answer any questions. We're available right now at this time, and it's where the only other thing is we will be following up. So if we see an application that was submitted, but there was missing information, we will determine that it's incomplete application, and we'll be following up via phone call and email requesting that you submit the additional documentation. So it's where we're very responsive to meeting the needs. We ask you to do the same, which is responding to our request for additional information. If it's where we do determine you're ineligible for any reason, we will send it in what we call a determination letter, which outlines the determination and eligibility, outlining the reasons why. And we do have an appeal process, which is where we go through having you provide additional documentation to be able to support why you would feel that you are determined eligible, which is reviewed then by the city of Pflugerville FS.
Okay, great. Anything else?
No, I just want to say that thank you to everybody who participated in this, and also thank BCL for all you're doing for us. We really look forward to being able to help our community and help those essential small businesses that are the backbone of how we became the city we are.
Well, oh, it looks like one person has their hand up, so I'm going to go ahead and unmute her or unmute them.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, I was wanting to know. So I work with BCL before, and I was awarded a grant. Does that disqualify you from being able to earn this one?
Yes, ma'am. So if it's where you did receive a grant through the Pflugerville Cares program specifically, they're round one, it's where you would not be able to apply for an additional grant through this program at this time.
I don't believe it was the round one. It was just a different. It wasn't Pflugerville Cares. It was something
Okay.
else.
Yeah, so it's where if it was not the Pflugerville Cares program, it's where you should be able to apply and be eligible for participation. We would then go through the application process to be able to determine if you're eligible or not. And then again, it's a first come, first serve, and I'm going to express that it's where the funding will run out based off demand. It's where we've seen it done a number of times with other programs. We'll definitely try to advocate to see if there's additional funding that could be put into the pot, but it's where ultimately you want to be able to get your application done as quickly as possible.
Okay. And I'm sorry, I just wanted to confirm. So the first program that I did qualify for was the Thrive Small Business Program. So would that disqualify me from being eligible for this one?
No, it would not disqualify you as long as we can be able to verify that the expenses that you're requesting reimbursement are not the same expenses that you used your funds
The
from
first time around?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. Perfect. Okay. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
And then there is one more question that came on the chat. It says, if our application requires more information, does that move us to the bottom of the queue?
The application requires you to submit more information, it's where there is that area for you to be able to upload all of those additional documents. It's where it goes back to, it's a first come, first serve in terms of completeness. So as long as we have a complete application, it's where we are timestamping all the applications based off of the submission time. And then we are reopening it if there are incomplete for a new timestamp. So the main thing is if you can give us everything in the kitchen sink when it comes to all your information and financials to be best, just responsive as well as like safe in terms of making sure that we have everything necessary. But we are doing reviews quickly. We are doing them now in between this application period to make sure that our applicants have everything that they need.
Great. And yeah, since we had a few questions come in, just wanted to give one last opportunity. If anyone else would like to raise their hand or would like to type a question in the chat box, one last opportunity for that. And I don't see anything. Okay, well, we'll go ahead and we'll give you about 35 minutes back in your day. So again, thank you all so much for joining us, and we'll look forward to working with you through this application process.